Greetings everybody, this is Patrick from Artwork and Oddities, coming to you from the Musée de Spat in Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome to the Friday Five. Now, as you know, this isn't just any Friday, it is a special Friday. However, for the life of me, I just can't quite seem to get what it is. I've forgotten. It's early in the morning while I'm filming this. Normally I like to film these ahead of time. But with the refilming of the last unboxing, and then last night the wife and I went to the state fair and saw Hailstorm, which was awesome. So I am actually having to do this the day of, so I'm sort of groggy, and I'm sure it'll come to me later on. So this Friday 5 list is based on a series of horror films. Very much a beloved series of horror films about a young child who is thought to be killed and only comes back once his mother is murdered by a camp counselor. Of course, I speak of the Friday the 13th series, which has gone all the way from Friday the 13th to Friday the 13th. Yeah. Anyway, so this one is going to be about the some of my favorites kill scenes in these films. I will warn you, though, from time to time, I will look over here. I actually have all my notes written out over here for things that I want to convey to you. Like I said, it is early in the morning, so I'm not really firing on all cylinders up there. So if I look over here, nothing against you. It's just I'm trying to pick up what I wanted to say. Alright, so we're going to start this off with an honorable mention. As I said, this is a list of my favorite kill scenes. However, in this one, nobody technically gets killed. It is from the 2001 film Jason X, in which two hard-light hologram girls, who just want some beer, to smoke some pot, and have premarital sex, end up getting horribly smashed together by Uber Jason. It is also one of the funniest kills in the entire series, in my thought. It starts with them sort of trying to tempt him, and they get into their sleeping bags, and Jason is looming over them. Then it cuts away to our heroes trying to get off the spaceship, and then it cuts back to Jason holding one sleeping bag, slamming it over another sleeping bag, and you hear them, the hologram girls, screaming, and it is actually very funny. How I'm saying it sounds absolutely horrible, but if you see it, it is quite hilarious. So, for number 5 is actually Jason's first on-screen kill. It is from the 1981 film Friday the 13th Part 2. We open up with Alice, the final girl from the previous film, sort of trying to get back into her daily routine. It's 2 months after her escape from Camp Blood. She's wandering around, gets a little scared, hears a sound, grabs an ice pick, only to find out it's her cat coming in through the window. So we're all relieved, everything's fine. She goes to get the cat some food, opens up the fridge door, only to find Mama Voorhees' head in there. It sort of shocks her, you know, to find the head of the woman you just killed in the last film in your fridge. She backs up and gets an ice pick to the skull. This one makes this list pretty much because it sort of says, hey, anything can happen. You thought she was going to survive? Well, we got something else for you. Also, I really like that Jason is nice enough to take the kettle off the stove once it starts whistling. That's really nice on his part. Of course, what happens to Alice? Later on in a scene when we show his shack, you can see some of the corpses lying around the altar, and one of them is a lot more decayed than the rest of them and has something sticking out of its head. Coming in at number 4 is the 1982 Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. And the victim is poor Rick Drilson. Obviously, this kill was done for the 3D version of the film. What happens is Rick goes outside to try to find what happened and meets up with the killer, who then lifts him up by his head gently squeezes and causes his eye to pop out right towards the camera. This made the list, honestly, because it is a fun scene. I know the effects aren't as good as nowadays, but it is a fun one, and it's just the eye pops right out. It happens at a point where Chris told him about the deformed man who attacked her, who now has his infamous Jason mask, and he was the last to die, leaving Chris as the final girl. So number 3 comes from the 2003 film Freddy vs. Jason. I wrestled with this one, whether to put it on, because it's not technically a Friday the 13th film, but you know what, it's my list. I can put it on here. It's one of my favorite kills. It's not a very memorable one, but the imagery is pretty awesome. Pretty much Shaq and a teammate are at a rave at a cornfield. They're getting high in the cornfields, drinking Everclear, and Jason sneaks up behind them. They turn around, slightly startled, and start making fun of him for being a hillbilly and everything, in which Jason just slowly reaches out and twists the teammate head right around. Now, this isn't my favorite kill. What happens next leads up to it. Shaq, startled of course, throws the Everclear onto Jason and somehow grabs a tiki torch and lights him on fire. Jason, of course, is Jason, so he's calm, gets out his machete and starts slowly walking towards Shaq, who is now running through the corn, and Jason is following, leaving a trail of burnt corn behind him. Shaq gets out of the cornfield, reaches the very edge, right into the rave, in which a flaming machete flies out and right into him. Now that is something to remember. Just this thought of Jason, while on fire, being calm enough to throw his machete, flaming machete, through the corn and impale him. He then goes on to, of course, have a very lovely flaming rave massacre. Number 2 comes from the 2009 reboot of Friday the 13th. In this one, it happens to Trent Sutton, which is actually a character that you're really hoping something horrible happens to the entire film. He's just that kind of a guy. It happens near the end, where the two heroes are running away from the house, and he runs in the opposite direction. Now, of course, the house is his parents', as he keeps reminding everybody in the film. However, he's running, and everything's looking well for this guy. He makes it all the way to the main road, where he is almost hit by a tow truck. The tow truck stalls out, swerves around him, and he is a bit leery to go near it, and you can kind of understand. In horror films, bad things happen to people who immediately get into vehicles. He shines a light on it, hits the rear view mirror, and illuminates the fact that it's just an old man in there. In fact, it looks like an extra from the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So he starts walking towards it. The old man looks in his side mirror and sees Jason standing right behind Trent, and starts to almost comically try to restart his tow truck. It's doing that whole rawr, rawr, rawr. And Trent is walking towards it, and very surprised when he gets a machete right through the chest. And Jason does it where it's upside down, so he can hold on to the handle and underneath the machete and lift him into the sky. While he's doing this, of course, the tow truck driver is very frantically trying to start his truck up. And then Jason takes him and slams him right onto the back of the tow truck, and he gets impaled on one of the implements right when the tow truck starts, and drives Trent off into the, I'm gonna say, sunrise. Because it is, of course, night when all of this happens. So he can't drive off into the sunset. And my number 1 pick comes from the 1980 film that started it all, Friday the 13th. In this one, it happens to Jack Morand or Burrell, depending on where you look. IMDb says one thing. He introduces himself as another thing in the film. I think there's yet another thing in the another name in the book version. So who knows what this character is. However, in this one, Jack and Marcy break one of the cardinal sins of horror films, and that is, do not have sex. However, they do, in a bunk bed with Ned in the top bunk with his throat slit, which they have no clue is happening there. Afterwards, Marcy goes up to take a shower, and Jack decides to relax in the bottom bunk with a smoke. And as he is, he's just relaxing, and he feels a drop of wetness hit his head, and he feels it, and it's blood. And he looks up, sort of startled, because as you would. And as he does, a hand comes out from underneath the bed, grabs him, and puts an arrow right through his throat here. And it is just absolutely horrific. The thing is, this is a really cool scene because the practical effects that they use are amazing. They had a fake body cast done of him, and they had his head sticking out from underneath the bed. So he's still moving, still breathing while all of this is happening. And it's one of the things that really made Tom Savini stand out amongst other physical effects people. Also, big props to Kevin Bacon. It was a fun role. So that's it for today's Friday 5 on Friday the 13th. Thank you for watching me. Thank you for joining me as I muddle through this. As I said, it's early in the morning, but I really want to get this made today. Want to get it out for a Friday the 13th edition. If you have a favorite death in one of these movies, or if you want to let me know something, go ahead, drop a comment. If you have an idea for a future Friday 5, just let me know. If you like the video, leave a thumbs up. I know, like I said, this is not my best work, but I try. I really do. If you want to see future Friday 5 lists or unboxing videos, let me know. And go ahead and subscribe. That would be cool. I'm still figuring my way through this. Anyway, once again, thank you for joining me. And until the next video, I will see you on the other side.